Assalamualaikum and hello everyone. Selamat datang ke Camp Chat Podcast season yang kedua. Kita bersiaran langsung dari IIUM Kuantan bersempena dengan program Insight from the World of Chemistry. Hari ini we are going to deep dive into the world of molecules and reactions, tapi dalam gaya yang lebih santai. We have 3 exciting segments today: the catalyst for W1H and the reactions. Okay, let me introduce our guest today, Miss Nur Shahira from Cik Mazu, Malaysia, Sdn Bhd. Okay. Miss Shahira, background, strong in analytical chemistry, pharmaceutical quality control, technical sales, product and applications, and advanced instrumentation. She's currently senior sales engineer at Cik Mazu. So she handles instruments such as LC, GC, UBBs, FTIR, and Malditoh. She also completed her Masters of Science in Instrumental Analytical Chemistry while working. So welcome our guest.
Thank you. Sorry. Thank you, Dr. Atika. I'm so honored to be invited for this podcast session. So,
Okay, kita start dengan segmen kita. Boleh? Okay. So tadi saya bincang, saya cakap ada 3 segmen kan?
Yes.
Okay, so kita start dengan first segment, okay? So segment A, the catalyst. Okay. Alright, we will start this first section that we call as a catalyst. Segmen ni kita fokus kepada perjalanan career Miss Shahira. So, tadi saya ada dengar sikit cerita Miss Shahira daripada graduate and then sambung belajar and kerja kan. So, boleh Miss Shahira cerita lagi sekali on that section.
So, first thing first, I'm the first batch from Department of Chemistry, which is batch 131. Almost 10 years already left UIA. So, since I'm the first batch, nak katanya perjalanan career selepas graduate tu bukanlah full of rainbows and also unicorns. So, I'm started quite rough, quite bumpy journey. Di mana lepas dia saya graduate back in 2017, I'm not immediately get a job related to my, saya nak pandang siapa ni? Okay. I'm not directly get kerja related to chemistry. So I work in odd jobs. Actually, I pernah juga jadi tour leader untuk this Andalusia. Kita panggil apa?
Travel agent.
Travel agent. Local travel agent. I pernah jadi tour leader waktu tu. Sebab kita desperate kan, kita nak kerja, kita nak ada experience. Kita dimomokkan, oh jangan ada gap. Orang kalau boleh lagi banyak experience you have, lagi higher your chance to get hired, right?
Okay.
So, any opportunities yang I ada, I terus grab. Termasuklah jadi tour leader. And then after that, waktu zaman I dulu kita ada SLIM, Skim Latihan Satu Malaysia. I'm not sure sekarang ni called Protege. Tak tahulah sekarang ni punya.
Still ada betul, tapi dia rename.
Dia rename kan. Yeah. So back then we call as Skim Latihan Satu Malaysia. I been offered dengan tabung haji. Sangat tak ada kena-mengena dengan chemistry. Tapi waktu tu pun saya pun tak tahu kenapa dia consider, I mean like they approve my application lah kan. And I go interview. Luckily because I from UIA, soalan dia adalah baca Al-Muq.
Wow.
Yes, baca Al-Muq. So, kita pun baca lah kan. Baca, and then okay. And then dia, antara soalan ni lah, I just share lah kan. Soalan ni, lepas tu dia tanya macam ni. Ni also one of the tips lah untuk adik-adik kan kalau nak attend interview. One of the questions juga dia tanya, okay, kalau you diberi 100,000, apa yang you nak buat dengan duit tu? So, because we know we are attending interview dengan financial company, tabung haji sama. So my answer was, I akan spend 50,000 tu, I letak dalam tabung haji.
I see.
So macam you relate the questions back to the employer yang akan hire you.
Apa business dia?
Yeah, business macam tu. So I think one of the reasons why I've been accepted is because of my answers lah. And then I kerja dengan tabung haji, I jadi teller. If you know what teller is, orang yang duduk dekat counter, orang yang greet the customers, puan nak simpan berapa, nak buat apa, nak buat pengeluaran berapa, nak daftar haji ke, that was me. Someone who graduated first class degree with chemistry, that was my first job ever. But then of course I nak kerja yang related dengan my field. So shortly, I rasa about 4 months after that, I dapat call daripada dua pharma waktu tu dekat Kelang. They offered me to join SLIM juga, Skim Latihan Satu Malaysia, under quality control. So I join. Of course lah, kita eager kan, kita memang rasa kita chemist, so kita nak join like anything related, sama dua pharma lagi.
A big company.
Yeah. And then I join. After that, I letak under QC, jaga raw material, raw mat. So you know, if raw mat ni buat ubat, kita dah ada list of chemicals yang kita nak kena analyse and what type of analysis that kita kena done. Yes. So every single day I dapat list of chemicals yang I nak kena analyse and also analysis. So okay lah, first 3 months, 6 months, I excited lah. Yelah kan, finally kita dapat apply apa yang kita belajar. But then after 9 months, I was like, am I going to live life like this for long term?
For the rest
of my life? Masuk office, masuk lab, tak nampak dunia luar, keluar dah petang, dah gelap.
Yes.
Okay, and then I bukanlah nak kata tak interaksi sangat dengan orang, tapi you need to focus on your analysis, right? Sebab before you keluar rehat, you need to know, you kena arrange your time lah. Okay, you kena siapkan analysis ni, bla 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 bla, baru sample prep, and then make sure you ada ample time untuk finish you punya analysis within the working hours. Kalau tak, you kena OT. So I was like, I'm not going to enjoy this because this is maybe not the life that I wanted. So I randomly, sumpah waktu ni memang randomly, I applied for another job. I was like, take a leap of faith, I go into sales. Okay, so nak kelakarnya cerita pasal waktu I interview waktu sales ni, kita tak pernah interview yang, okay, kita Skim Latihan Satu Malaysia is different from when you applied for industry punya interview. Ini memang my first interview job ever lah. I keluarkan notebook. Waktu interview tu, I yang catat dia cakap.
I see.
Macam, patutnya yelah, you jawab interview macam like you, sekarang ni kita punya conversation, right? But that was my noob time. So waktu interview tu, waktu I punya employer tu interview I keluarkan buku catatan, I catat apa benda yang dia claim. But lucky enough, lucky rezeki lah kan. I've been accepted as a product specialist untuk neurovascular punya medical devices. So that was actually a turning point di mana, of course waktu ni tak related juga dengan chemistry, tapi sebab I tahu yang I tak boleh duduk dalam lab. Dan I join sales pun, I rasa macam why not untuk try. And then sales pun bukanlah dipandang pun, sebab orang rasa, oh you're just salesperson, right? But bila I masuk sales, barulah I tahu, okay, you need to have a certain product knowledge. Especially kalau kita deal dengan, you know, I deal with a neurovascular punya specialist, neuro IR punya specialist, kita panggil dia neurologist, di mana I jual medical device. If you know stroke, okay, stroke, kita tak boleh nak jangka bila stroke ni berlaku. It can be anytime, right? So kerja I melibatkan I need to stand up for 24/7. So setiap kali kalau ada stroke, doktor akan call I need to go there, stand by, bring my devices.
I see.
Yes.
Okay.
So the job was, you can get paid handsomely lah, I would say. Because sales, of course, you need based on commission kan. Lagi pandai you jual, lagi banyak commission yang you dapat. And then I found this job very challenging bila mana you need to convince, you know, waktu tu umur I baru 26, 24, 25 macam tu. You need to speak to someone who very well, well versed lah, sangat pakar in dia punya bidang, but then you need to convince that person to use your product. How intense the situation was, right? So for example lah, contohnya kan, patient tu on the bed, I was at the back selling my products. Doctor, you need to use this because ours ini ada competitor di kiri kanan I. That's how we did sales back then. So sangat challenging pada umur itu. Dan I pun tak tahu macam mana I boleh survive. But
berapa tahun tu kerja tu?
2 tahun setengah.
Wow.
But then what make me rethink balik I punya decision sama ada, yelah waktu tu kita muda kan, kita macam, oh apa ada banyak potensi. Tapi takkan aku nak hidup macam ni je. Benda yang membuatkan I fikir balik adalah waktu tu I balik rumah emergency, my own dad actually kami dimaklumkan oleh doktor untuk de-intubated.
I
But at the same time,
Mhm.
my doctor, which is my
Mhm.
client lah, the one that I close with,
Mhm.
call I marah-marah I, patient on the bed ni, mana barang you? But at the same time, my dad also is tengah kita
Tengah
tengah
sakit.
sakit dan
Yes.
doktor pun tengah nak decide dia nak intubate my dad. I was like, oh my god. Waktu dalam keadaan genting macam ni, takkan nak tinggalkan my family. At the same time, focus on my career.
Yes.
I think this job maybe not for me for now,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
So, and even I said that this job actually paid me, I earned so well lah. I would say at that time, very handsome.
Okay.
Waktu tu I rasa kaya lah.
Yeah.
You know, you baru graduate, lepas tu you tak tahu lagi nak manage your money macam mana. Back then, kita punya financial exposure, punya knowledge tak adalah macam sekarang.
Betul. Betul.
So kita tak tahu nak manage duit. Memang mewah lah dulu. Tapi it really mentally exhausted. I macam, you kena standby 24/7. Pukul 2-3 pagi, especially waktu COVID. Mana ada orang. Tapi you memang boleh pergi ke mana-mana sajalah sebab you as a kira in a medical field juga kan.
Okay.
So I take a short career break kejap. I fikir balik sama apa benda yang I nak jadi. And that's why I said I tak nak tinggalkan chemistry. I still love chemistry, but then at the same time I suka interact dengan orang, but then in a corporate setting. I teringin nak masuk corporate sebenarnya. So because I enjoy bila I bekerja dalam medical device ni kan, I would say orang-orang yang involved dalam medical device ni adalah orang international.
I see. Okay.
Sebab diorang discuss daripada negara Turki, negara-negara luar, diorang discuss about the case. So I was like macam menarik. So at the same time I still ada orang kata apa, dalam jiwa kita tu masih ada chemistry macam tu lah. Kita tak nak tinggalkan.
Okay.
And then that's when bila I took a short career break, ini nasihat untuk adik-adik jugalah. Tapi saya nak cakap, jangan lama-lama, kena fikir cepat lah. Masa tu berjalan. Waktu saya stay at home pun tengah fikir tu pun, waktu tu mak pun dah bising. Cakap lagi lah cari kerja, kau ada benda nak kena bayar ni kan. And then that's why I pun cari kerja yang senang sikit. Jadi tak nak lah cakap senang kan, macam
rasa manageable.
Sales coordinator lah. I rasa dia sales tapi dia coordinate, dia macam a bit easy for me lah to handle, senang untuk manage lah. At the same time it give also me space untuk I fikir apa yang I betul-betul nak. Waktu tu lah I rasa macam even sales coordinator I duduk dalam office. I tak boleh pula duduk dalam office, banyak pula masalah awak. Dah lah tak boleh duduk dalam lab, tak boleh duduk dalam office. Sebab I rasa bosan macam oh my god, 9 to 5 duduk dalam office je. Okay. So I cakap I kena buat sales balik. So that's why I encounter actually this offer. Memang I rasa Allah lorongkan rezeki I untuk apply for my current job. I pun tak tahu nak expect apa, seriously. But I know they are a manufacturer for chemistry, analytical instruments. So bila I apply, alhamdulillah perjalanan tu sangat mudah. And then I accept the job. Lepas tu baru I rasa macam I dah lama tinggalkan chemistry ni. Sebab bila you jumpa, yelah everyday you jumpa dengan orang yang expert. Contoh macam lecturer, kita jumpa orang yang key player in the industry, science officer, orang yang memang dah well versed dah dengan dia punya instruments kan. So takkan kita nak sembang kosong. Kita tak ada knowledge. Kita nak cakap pun benda very technical. Ini you bukan jual insurance. You jual instruments. So you need to have like a certain level of knowledge. That's when I decided, I cakap dengan my management after 1 year. I cakap dengan my management, I rasa I nak sambung belajar. I nak sambung master dekat UM lah. I dah usha
Boleh.
I dah survey, I tengok okay UM punya waktu belajar tu 5 sampai 7 petang after office hour. And then diorang punya lab pun hari Jumaat sahaja. I discuss elok-elok dengan management. I cakap lah, okay lah, apa yang management also akan dapat kalau diorang allow untuk I sambung belajar. This one also added value lah. This one also a good point untuk adik-adik tahu yang even you dah belajar, even you dah kerja, you need to you level up your knowledge juga. Sebabnya kalau kalau you choose to be stagnant, ada banyak benda-benda pun akan stagnan lah, seperti gaji ke, position, peluang kan, benda-benda macam tu. The more you expose yourself, lagi banyak sebenarnya opportunity yang you akan dapat. So my management alhamdulillah memang support. Even hari Jumaat tu pun diorang bagi I pelepasan.
Oh.
Maksudnya I tak payah apply cuti.
Okay.
Diorang
Kelonggaran lah.
kelonggaran. Just pergi je.
Pergi kelas.
Pergi kelas.
Pergi belajar.
So tak payah ambil cuti. Kalau tak, by right I kena ambil cuti lah. Sebab I wasn't in office ataupun buat kerja.
Buat kerja, betul.
And after that, after 2 years, I tak adalah buat 1 year. I tak crash in 1 year. I buat 2 years. I take my time lah untuk finish my masters. Waktu master tu pun I ada project. I buat vape profiling. Vape profiling menggunakan GCMS. And I'm using my own instruments.
I see.
And then because I'm using my own instruments, only then I cakap, oh okay macam ni level orang kata performance my own instruments kan. So lagi seronok kalau I nak sembang dengan I punya user.
Betul.
So that I pun ada experience. I bukan sekadar menjual I punya barang, I also a user for my own instruments. So after that I graduated lah after 2 years, and currently bila I dah graduate, of course lah, that's why I've been promoted lah, one of the reason jadi senior.
Okay.
So yeah.
Very long story and very interesting story. Kita kena faham after graduate ni tak semestinya semuanya akan full of rainbow. Kadang rainbow tu lambat sikit nak sampai.
Betul. Dia macam ribut dulu. Kalut dulu.
And then datang the rainbow tu.
Tapi lepas tu hujan balik.
Betul. Dia bukan je rainbow for the rest of the life. Betul. Okay, so sekarang kita akan move kepada segmen B. Segmen B ni for W1H. Okay. So kita sebenarnya akan main for soalan lah for W1H. Kita akan ada rotating wheels.
Okay.
And then bila soalan stop, wheels tu stop dekat soalan mana, saya akan tanya soalan. Okay?
Boleh?
So, kita akan rotate the wheels. Okay, the wheel stop dekat what? Okay, so what actually happened behind the scene before a product like bottled water, cooking oil and medicine reach us?
Okay. So this one I'm answering based on my own experience lah kan. So you know that everything originality-nya lah datang daripada raw material. So daripada raw material tu, only then you QC lah sama ada raw mat tu in at the certain performance ataupun certain concentration,
Meet
the correct one. Yes, meet the standard or not. Only then you proceed untuk buat formulation. And also barulah dia buat shape ke and everything. And after that, bila dia jadi, contohlah botol kan. Then after that they make, and then after that they can go through the QC. And then all of this process is being analysed by an instrument. So depends on instrument, which instrument yang sesuai lah. Contohnya testing machine ke ataupun tensile machine, right? We call
Melting point pun
melting point. Also all of this thing, make sure they safe dulu before they clone. Only then it been used lah by the publics.
Yeah, very good answers. So kita rotate lagi wheels. Okay, wheel kita tengah spinning and dia stop dekat when. Okay, so when question, when is the best time to use your analytical knowledge when making decision?
Oh, okay.
Very big question ni.
Very wide.
Yeah.
I can answer it in ini contohnya everyday life, right? So mengikut pengalaman saya yang tak adalah banyak sangat ni kan. When you are in analytical industry, you need to think thoroughly yang very very detail, yang macam you also kadang-kadang overthinker sesuai lah sebenarnya jadi analytical ni.
Betul. Betul. Dia fit the attitude.
Sebabnya you banyak berfikir, tapi at the same time you kena filter juga apa yang you fikir, sama ada benda tu baik ke buruk ke, ataupun you benda tu kadang-kadang kita a bit pesimis juga sebab you overthinker. You ada rasa takut yang benda yang you out of control tu berlaku. Padahal benda tu kita tak tahu lagi. There is a possibilities yang benda tu tak happen, right?
Kadang possibility 1% pun kita nak
itu pun kita fikir. Macam mana nak encounter, macam mana nak counter balik benda tu, apa kita panggil dia countermeasure dia,
Ya, betul.
benda-benda macam tu. So since you are involving with analytical instruments, right, of course you need to think thoroughly, you need to think smartly. So that's when bila I making decisions on something, I use that plus point as in analytical instruments untuk I making decision lah. Contohnya sebagai contoh lah, kalau in everyday life kan nak beli kereta ataupun nak beli rumah. So you kena fikir dulu, kawasan rumah ni macam mana.
Betul, terlebih fikir.
Terlebih fikir sebab macam analytical kan, analytical instruments, and before I nak propose that instrument kepada orang kan, I kena fikir dulu sama ada sesuai ke tak dengan application you, you punya space macam mana, you punya condition bilik, sama ada humidity, and then you punya power source sesuai ke tak, mampu tanggung ke tak, all that kind of things I need to think before I propose to my customers. So I applied that in my real life. Contohnya kalau I nak cari rumah, I was thinking, tempat ni jam ke tak, banjir ke tak, especially KL, dekat dengan sekolah ke tak, ataupun klinik macam mana, all this thing lah. So that's why kalau I nak make decision, I need to list out pro and cons dulu. So
that was a very good attitude, impacting your life.
Yes.
Apa yang dia punya teori tu, daripada kerja kepada life kita kan. Okay, so we managed to spin another wheels. Okay, so the wheel was spinning and the wheel stopped dekat how. Okay, saya rasa relate dengan soalan tadi sebenarnya. Okay, how do you actually decide which instrument is suitable for certain application?
Yep. So first thing first, kalau you nak jadi, if people want to be in my industry, you need to have like a strong chemistry knowledge. You kena tahu volatile ke non-volatile. I think chemistry student, that was the first, orang kata apa, knowledge yang hujung jari you kena tahu dah. Sama ada that sample is volatile or non-volatile. Then only then you suggest pakai GC ataupun LC.
Yes.
Sebab GC, of course lah, you need the volatile ataupun semi-volatile. Kalau LC, non-volatile. And then sometimes boleh je you nak pakai GC untuk non-volatile, tapi you need to mixture, and then you need a certain accessories untuk jadikan dia sesuai untuk digunakan dengan GC. And then you also need to distinguish between organic ataupun inorganic. Waktu tu you nak suggest pakai spektro ke, you nak pakai chromato. So that's when it's important important untuk you tahu knowledge you punya customers punya application dulu, before you suggest the correct instruments. Sometimes kalau in my case and all my style of proposing solution, I takkan korang kata hard push lah, ataupun kita tahu kalau you have this accessories, you can dapat jual lagi mahal. But then benda tu you tahu benda tu tak perlu pun. Some of the features very, teknologinya terlalu tinggi. Tapi kita tahu user tak guna. Tapi sebab kalau kita nak jual tinggi, ialah harga mahal, you punya margin pun tinggi. Ini I cakap ni dalam konteks sales lah kan. But then in my case, I would say that's why it's very important for me untuk understand dulu customer nak apa. What kind of applications yang you nak buat, and then in under what situation ataupun limit of detection yang you nak achieve. So let's say kalau you tak perlukan pun that kind of technology ataupun accessories, I memang takkan suggest lah. So kalau in future, then you boleh upgrade. But then kalau sekadar untuk guna dan melakukan routine application, for example, I would suggest sekadarnya lah, tidaklah over.
Mungkin juga kita ada ethics kita di mana kalau orang tu tak perlu, kenapa kita nak
jual.
Sebab walaupun kita dapat untung, tapi kita rasa kurang di situ.
Betul lah. Saya membawa core value UI dekat luar sana, sebab dekat luar sana tak ada mi'ah solehah.
Betul.
So you need to be the torchbearer of the ummah lah, macam saya cakap semalam kan. Carry the value with you when you work outside.
Okay, we managed to spin another wheel.
Ini kena tanya 5 soalan je.
Semalam banyak juga.
Boleh? Oh, okay.
Ikut masa. Lagi satu kan? Okay, the wheel was stopped at where? Okay. So the question for where do you see analytical chemistry being most important in everyday life? Wow.
Uish. Contohnya macam mana?
Macam mana analytical tu, chemistry tu ada digunakan dalam kehidupan mungkin seharian yang nampak dia.
Okay. Sejauh mata kita memandang ni semua chemistry.
Betul?
Kan?
Betul?
So 360 kita ni semua chemistry.
Betul?
So bila you belajar chemistry, actually you ada satu additional, orang kata apa, contohnya macam kita belajar Arab dulu kan, waktu CFS kan, for example, bila you baca Al-Quran tu kan, at least you tahu maksud that word bila kita baca Al-Quran tu. Sama juga macam chemistry, you dah belajar dah pasal bunga ni, you belajar pasal makanan ni, tiba-tiba cross you punya otak tu ada chemical reaction, tiba-tiba ada organic chemistry pula, tiba-tiba ada lambang 3 heat tu, you know that kind of things, sebab yelah you terlalu immense dengan chemistry kan. So but then it also a good point bila you dah boleh bezakan kalau you nak pilih produk mana yang sesuai.
Okay.
Dulu saya sangat takut dengan paraben kan, preservative, tapi but then after more reading, dia tak adalah that harmful pun. It just certain concentration ataupun certain limit kan benda tu.
Exposure.
So benda tu penting lah, give you extra knowledge lah when you see something, you know the science behind it, you rasa jadi macam lebih more meaningful when you see something lah.
Yes. And then I rasa mungkin chemistry, analytical chemistry and the whole topic of chemistry give you some advantage when you doing decision macam nak pakai ubat apa, nak pakai skincare apa, nak makan apa, nak beli bekas apa. Dia bagi you macam, jadi bila you buat decision semata nak beli bekas Tupperware mana, dia bagi you jadi seorang macam pengguna bijak.
Betul. Belakang tu tiba tengok PP ke TPA
boleh guna dalam microwave ke tak kan. Saya rasa chemistry was there for kita nak apply dalam life.
Betul, especially kalau dia ambil halal haram ke, and then waktu tu you boleh extra concern, bulu ni dia berbuat daripada apa.
Betul.
Contoh kalau medchem, you consume PCM, and then you belajar waktu tu drug delivery, you fikir dia pergi mana, dia pergi
how to travel in your body. Yes. Yeah. I think with that we end the segment B, which is segment 4W1H. So we're going to start segment C. We call this the reaction segment. But then ni lagi leisure lah. Main teka-teki sebenarnya this time. Okay. So this segment kita akan panggil dia chemistry scramble. Kita ada words of chemistry tapi dia macam scramble. And then you kena teka. Okay. But then I bagi 5 saat je.
5 saat.
I count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Set? I start Okay. The hint, the data like continuum of color form when a beam of light is dispersed.
The data like continuum. Uish, benda?
Hint dia. I rasa dia start dengan yang ni.
Spectrum?
Yeah. Wow, okay. So we go for next. Jawapan dia. Okay.
Solvent.
Itu sebab dia hint lagi.
Okay.
Wow, very good. Tak apa, okay je. Okay. So next, jawapan dia. Okay. So the hint dia, setting the machine to ensure it's accurate.
Calibrate.
Ni memang expert you lah. tak payah fikir pun kan. Okay, next kita ada the time chemical spines inside the column.
Retention.
Wow, I forgot already this word. Retention, good. Okay. Inside part of chromatography, dia dah senyum dulu. Machine where the separation happens.
Column.
Ini easy lah untuk you kan. Can be mobile or stationary.
Face.
Yep, that's correct.
Tak baca lah set chromatography.
Yeah. The explanation ni panjang. But the word was chromatography. Okay. Sorry.
Dah?
Dah.
Finish.
Wow. Okay. Wow. So with that chromatography words, we end our segment C, and then that's a wrap for today's episode of ChemChat. Yay! So thank you so much for our guests for sharing such amazing insight, and then kepada semua listener, chemistry is not just in the lab. So Miss Shaira is one of the proof on that. So it's everywhere. So don't forget to follow our next episode. Saya
No, man.
saya Assistant Chemist Technologist Dr. Nurul Atika binti Muhammad Mokhtar, Majulah Kimia untuk Negara.